Oh, so here we are on. How about that? I'm Ruth Ann McDonald. This is Jan Sims, and we're in Mississippi as in heaven. You know, when the disciples asked Jesus how to pray, he gave them two things. He gave them Luke 18. You can read that for yourself. Or he gave them Matthew 6, what we call the Lord's Prayer. And the second sentence of the Lord's Prayer says, Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So it's talking about bringing God's kingdom to earth. So that's what we want to talk about. We love Mississippi. We're all for Mississippi, and we want to bring God's kingdom here. But we got to know truth to bring kingdom, right?
That's right.
So some truth, Jan, is maybe we can talk about truth. What do you think?
It looks like there's hope for truth being able to stay in social media.
Well, that's true. Somebody asked me today. They asked me the question, and we were talking about the 1927 flood in Mississippi and the fact that the newspapers hid the truth that the flood was coming from Mississippians. Isn't that interesting? Okay,
Yes, it
there's a book
is.
out there called Rising Tide, if you folks want to read it, and it talks about how the Time-Picayune worked with Washington, D.C., because they didn't want the farmers to leave Mississippi and all the sharecroppers and all the helpers. And so they hid information. So that's 1927.
Mhm.
But talk some about Mark Zuckerberg and what's going
Well,
on.
it appears that he has sent a letter to, I think it's the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan, this week. I think that letter went out Monday, and then Tuesday, I'm looking at a CNN business article that is titled Mark Zuckerberg says Meta was pressured by Biden administration to censor COVID related content in 2021. And he gave specifics about it in his letter to this House Judiciary Committee. He said that Meta was repeatedly pressured for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. So they caved in to the pressure. And what he, I believe, ends the letter with is that they're not going to do that anymore. So I think you found someone on social media who's testing that on Facebook, right?
That's right. And I hope I pronounce his name correctly. He ran for senator against Roger Wicker recently. His name is Ghanon, Ghannon Burton. You can find him on Facebook. And since the Zuckerberg letter has come out, I've noticed every day he is posting something to test it to see if it will be taken down. And I say, go, guy, go. Okay, this is good. Um, so I've been following him on what all he has been posting. And today, if you'll go to his Facebook page and take a look there, he posts again. Okay, he says this. He posted it 5 hours ago. Mississippi for American First. Okay, now that Zuckerberg has admitted to helping the globalists and their deep state crime syndicate capture this country, let's get a few things straight. After all, hindsight is 2020, right? He says. So he starts listing. He gives you information about COVID-19. Then he goes on to talk about the rigged elections of 2020. That's interesting. He
Yeah.
goes on to talk about the COVID-19 shots. He talks about the attempted assassination on Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. Um, he also says, I ask humbly to update your paradigm to match the reality of the situation we're facing. It's either a move back to sovereign nation or a multipolar hegemony. I don't know what that is, Hegemony, of power across the planet, a Luciferian global corporate scape. So it's still up. So every day for the last 5 days, I think, maybe four, he's definitely posted,
Wow.
and he is testing Zuckerberg to see if it's going to stay up.
Well, Zuckerberg said that with the benefit of hindsight and new information, there were decisions made in 2021 that wouldn't be made today. So I guess we're going to find out.
So it makes me wonder what else is going down the pike for suddenly we're having this change of heart.
And it's interesting because we are accustomed the last 4 years to conservative voices being censored.
We are.
And I thought it was interesting that he said in this letter that the pressure was put on Meta, what was Facebook, even for humor or satire. They didn't even want, if someone was making a joke, they wanted that censored. Or satire, they wanted that censored. Well, so I started looking around, and now National Public Radio, NPR.org, printed this article, I guess it was Sunday, August 25th, that Vice President Harris made 12 misleading or lacking in context claims in her acceptance speech at the Democratic National Committee, Democratic Convention.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen mainstream thoughts censored or fact checked. And this is fact checking.
Wow.
So of course they fact checked Donald Trump's speech, his acceptance speech. But now they're saying and they even bring up, I'll read a couple of them, I won't read all 12, but so the vice president made a comment, and this is in quotes by NPR.org. His explicit intent to jail journalists, political opponents, and anyone he sees as the enemy. Well, they said that's a lie, that Trump has not said those things, that he's been more vague, but he hasn't said that this is what he would do. And she was saying, that's an actual quote, that's in quotes, that was what he was going to do. The second thing is that we know, and this is also in quotes, we know what a second Trump term would look like. It's all laid out in Project 2025, written by his closest advisors. And its sum total is to pull our country back to the past, end quote. That's her exact quote. And he said, or NPR, whoever this is that wrote the article, says that Project 2025 is not from Trump's campaign. And he's even fired people who supported that 2025 project. So I won't go through all of them, but that was pretty interesting to see fact checking of a presidential acceptance speech from a Democratic nominee.
So this is a big shift. It's a big shift in speech, which we as conservatives and we as conservative Christians have really been pushed back on what we can say. But then they've opened it up for anybody that is not conservative.
Free reign.
Thoughts out there. It's been just like whatever you think. And if you want to bring drag queens and whatever else to talk to our children, just go for it. It has been a fiasco.
Yeah, it has.
It really has.
So it looks like maybe, and I'm very interested. I know that next week there was supposed to be a presidential debate, and it's been canceled. But I'm interested. The next one is supposed to be September 10th.
Right.
So that's just 2 weeks from now. And I'm going to be very interested to hear, are the moderators, are they going to be more fair, or are they going to be one-sided?
Yeah.
Mainstream media has a long way to come towards being unbiased.
It really does. It really, really does. In fact, social media to me is one of the things that's helped save our country in the right direction, because people have worked so hard to get the message out. whether they got taken down, they've gone from one platform to the other to get the message of truth out.
Mhm.
And I just would say these digital warriors have done a great job of doing it.
Absolutely. And I look forward to seeing this momentum continue and even build.
Yes, so I'm excited. This is, and I'm watching Guyan. Y'all been watching with me every day. This says he tests and puts one more thing out to see if it's taken down. And I say, go. Let's see how much more can be put out there that is the truth.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So that opens the door, and that just brings us to look at Mississippi because, you know, Mississippi has been a Democratic state, and it was actually changed. It was really in the 90s. I mean, Mississippi went with Reagan in the 80s, but it really wasn't, didn't become starting moving where it was everybody in government Republican until the early 90s. And that's been, it's been an interesting journey, but that excuse me, that means you've got old Democratic roots still living, and that's okay, okay? But to me, the Democratic Party is not the party of what it turned out to be. It's not what our ancestors were latching on to. And the fact that Robert Kennedy Jr. now is endorsing Trump and saying that the Democratic Party, this is major. This was a major event in our country when he came over and spoke that the Democratic Party was not the party that his family originally supported.
Yes. I saw Tucker Carlson has interviewed him. I think Tucker had the first interview with Robert Kennedy Jr. after he'd made the announcement, you know, the endorsing Trump. And he said, I really liked this. Now I'm not, we never, and we don't look to people to do the things that the Lord wants to do, but so we're not putting people on a pedestal or anything like that. But what I was glad to hear is that he was still maintaining his identity, and he was saying that it's the party that's changed,
Mm-hmm.
that and it's the leadership of the party
That's
that
true.
has gotten them off on the wrong tangent.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to see a return to um, I think sanity. That wasn't the word he used, but and the way he was targeted, not given any Secret Service protection,
That's
even
really
though his father was killed, was
true.
murdered. That's. I wonder how many more people, because now Tulsi Gabbard has also endorsed Trump. I wonder who's going to be next.
That's right. It's going to be an interesting September.
It is.
It's going to be a very interesting September to see what takes place and what goes on. And we're about 69 days, 68 days from the election right now.
Mm-hmm. I think it's 69 today.
Okay.
I think. I'm not positive.
Well, it's getting closer and closer. Wow.
It is.
Okay. So, and the other thing is, just while we're on the subject, you know, just because we're talking about the Democratic Party, it doesn't mean the Republican Party in Mississippi, especially, is all conservative. You know, you get people that don't know right now where they fit, and they're trying not to go totally Democrat, but they're trying to bring some of their ways into the Republican Party, which some of their ways are not conservative. And I think we're bumping into that right now.
Yes. Okay. So what you just said made me remember something. I think this was at the very end of Tucker Carlson's interview with Robert Kennedy, and what they were both. Well, Tucker was saying it, but Kennedy was in agreement that we've got to. He said, arguing with someone who thinks differently is never the answer. But he said what people have got to do is start saying what they're voting for. I'm voting for my economy. I'm voting for, you know, fair and free elections. I'm voting for accountability.
Yes.
Rather than I'm voting for a person.
That's really true because a person will let you down.
That's right.
But you can look at a person's platforms and pick out the ones that you can live with.
Of course, they have to put out a platform for you to know whether you agree with it or not.
That's true. There's maybe, well, at the Democratic convention, I think the most I got was what they think Trump's platform is and not what their platform is.
And they were fact checked for it.
Mm-hmm.
That they were not telling the truth. Yeah.
That's interesting. Like, right? So God is good, especially when he gets into politics when you don't expect it, right? And
Yes.
so that brings me to something else. There's going to be a Trump flag wave in Flowood this Saturday in front of TJ, I guess in front of TJ. It is in front of TJ Maxx, but in the parking lot, starting at 10 a.m. on Saturday. So take your Trump signs and go down, wave them, and make a big splash saying Mississippi is going for conservative values. Okay, but I do think it's very interesting. And look at this when you look at it. He has a line now with Robert Kennedy, and there are some issues that he and Robert differ on. Okay, so basically, it's going on just what you said. Trump is looking for what Robert can bring to the table that he agrees with. And Robert has done the same thing. He's lining up with Trump for what they can put together that they both agree on. That's a huge thing.
It's huge. And just think if we could have the public witness what true coming alongside one another to come with the right solution. And I'm not saying that in the past our national government has always been transparent and upright and all of that, but there used to be more statesmanship.
Yeah.
And it would be refreshing to see that. What a calming influence that could have on the public if we can see people who don't agree on everything yet unite around what they do agree on.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Work together. It really is. So that's a start. Mississippi politics here is because Mississippi politics has got to look at some of that stuff.
All right.
We're gonna see where this goes. And but Mississippi politics, we got to put Trump in office, and I'll just say that because we've got to go conservative. Our country's got to go conservative. But this Zuckerberg the true thing is giving me hope for conservative now.
True. And the thing is, it's the direction that the Democratic Party has been driven into over the last 20 years in this century. If it was said plainly and clearly and transparently, I think there's a good number of Mississippians who've historically voted Democrat that would not agree if they could hear it clearly, from the party.
Right. We've got to get away of voting because we've been X in our family for so many years. We've got to look at the situation.
True.
Yes. Okay, well, there's some good news out of Mississippi, and Tate Reeves was on Mike Huckabee. You want to pick that up, Jan?
He was. So Mike Huckabee has a show on TBN, and he interviewed the governor of Mississippi, Tate Reeves. I think it was yesterday. This was posted on YouTube yesterday. And it's all about the Mississippi Miracle for raising reading scores. So it's no surprise and not surprising that Mississippi has been known to be last in so many categories. But I believe it was in 2013 ranked number 49 for fourth grade reading. But in 2022, it had cut in less than more than half. We were 21. We were the 21st state for fourth grade reading in 2022, and they've made the marker the third grade reading scores. So if students can't read by third grade on a third grade level, then they're held back.
Awesome.
And so I looked up, there's an article from PBS News, and it's from last year, but it talks about it's the same things that Mike Huckabee was interviewing the governor about. And what this article says is that Mississippi patterned this after 10 years ago, after a similar law in Florida that had been passed in 2002. And what is required now, teachers who many times don't have any instruction in how to teach people to read are now required to take a 55-hour course, a training course in fundamentals of reading that includes phonics and that kind of thing. And that's what's been fundamental behind this turnaround.
That is awesome, because lots of times when people don't realize, reading is not just giving a child a book and reading. You have to teach them the fundamentals of reading. And how do you do it phonetically? How do you then not even just phonetically? How do you grasp the meaning? How do you get the meaning out of the sentence? It's a lot to read.
There really is. There really is. And it's nice to see Mississippi move up, and they are calling it the Mississippi Miracle. So,
well, this is go Mississippi.
We like that. Yeah,
we do. We like that. But let's swap again and let's talk about some Mississippi almost becoming a border state. Are we? I know that one gets me. So in Philadelphia, Mississippi, this past weekend, August the 24th, started on August the 23rd. There was eight attempted murders, all by the same guy. He was shooting into vehicles. They caught him on the 24th at Burger King, where he'd been apparently casing the joint or casing it out for several days, they have determined. But they have determined that he's a part of an MS-13 gang, and he is an illegal. His last name was Salvador. He's got a long first name. You can look this up. It is on the ShowTheDemocrat.online. You can find it on there. Basically where they're talking about this was taking place in Philadelphia, is on a main drag, a main street into Philadelphia. Which, how do you say suddenly Mississippi's a border state? So why should we have illegals that far away from the Texas border? And how did he get here? And then the next question is, if he's here, who else is here with him?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just a fair questioning. So what's happened over the last 4 years has been making every state a border state and having to deal with issues that we're not equipped to deal with, because we don't have border patrol. We don't have those things. It's like it's snowing in Mississippi. We shut down because we're not equipped to deal with it. Okay?
That's true.
That's true. Okay?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't snow often in Mississippi. So basically, people who have chosen to live here because maybe of the climate, because of the long growing seasons here, but they like to live in Mississippi small towns to have their families away from the mainstream big cities. And lots of people choose these small towns not to be in the big city vein of things. Okay? But now Philadelphia is not one of your big cities. It's just an average sized place in Mississippi. So this is kind of an awakening call. On the same day, if you look at the Scotty Ray report, some more illegals were stopped on Highway 19, I believe it was, in Lauderdale County. But they were let go because their employers vouched for them. Now, who's employing illegals?
That's a good question.
It is a good question. Scotty Ray did not give that information, of course, and you can find the Scotty Ray report on social media. But it's very interesting. On the same day this was going on. And on the 23rd, which is the day the shooting started in Mississippi, there was also a bomb threat to the Carver Elementary School in Meridian. So it's like this is not Mississippi style.
Mm-mm. No.
They have arrested the suspect in that, which was an older gentleman. But this is not Mississippi style. For suddenly, you have illegal immigrants being stopped on the highway. You have 8 counts of attempted murder in Philadelphia, Mississippi, from some man shooting in vehicles
Wow.
because people pass by.
And that speaks to a mental state,
It does.
because someone who's troubled does that kind of thing, not someone who's thinking clearly.
That's right.
Uh, so it makes you wonder. All right, what? And we have seen. Who was it? The auditor, Shad White, has reported. I can't remember how many illegal aliens are um, thought to be in the state. Wasn't it over 20,000?
I think it was a high number. He mentioned that in a meeting we were in.
Okay. And I don't know how he got that number, but if that's the case and we don't know, so are they even receiving health care? How do we know that someone else isn't delusional and looking to murder?
That's true. So, if the man planned it out and he was not just using, he was using an automatic weapon. Okay,
Wow.
that was reported in Philadelphia. So this is kind of like this is interrupting small town life. And why would people want illegals in our small towns interrupting the backbone of our country, which is small town life?
And how's he already in a gang?
Well, he came across the border as MS-13.
Oh, he was already a gang member before he came across the border.
Yes,
Well,
yes, interesting. I wonder, yeah, they just let him cross. And so, but Chad White did make a statement today. He said that it cost Mississippi around $100 million a year to
wow.
house the number of illegal aliens that's believed to be in Mississippi. And it says it's mainly because they hit the healthcare system, the education system, and the prisons. And that's a cost. This is a cost Mississippi or other states shouldn't be having to carry because basically if they come and disturb hometown life, then where are people going? That's basically it.
Mhm.
And then why does our government want to upset hometown life?
Right, right. And by government, we mean federal government.
Federal, yes, definitely federal government. And because I don't feel like our governor let these folks in at all,
Mhm.
But why is it here? Well, and I'll just bring up one other thing, keeping up with Clay Edwards. I thought it was interesting. As of August the 21st, there had been 15 people shot in 3 mass shootings in Jackson in 4 days.
Wow.
That's a wow for.
Wow.
So Mississippi, we got some good stuff on the reading scores. We're really proud of what's going on there. We got some good stuff going on with Mark Zuckerberg coming forward, and this is not just us, but coming forward and saying he was pushed. Okay,
Yes.
this is really good. But we've got some things that we can't let come in our community.
Right. Right. And I was just going to say, as intercessors, these are prayer points.
It
We
is.
we rejoice for exposure. We do rejoice that we're finding out about things, and we rejoice, especially in Philadelphia, no one was killed, even though there were people injured. But exposure isn't enough. We've got to have justice. We've got to have the Lord deal. Mississippi is in heaven.
Mhm.
Let the Lord deal with this.
Yeah, so it's really time, intercessors, to start praying about this because the Lord needs to have an open way into our state to deal with these things. And when we say Mississippi is in heaven, we need to pray our state as God wants it to be. And that is so important. Does that mean everything might be like you want it? Not necessarily.
No.
But could God would have a just government, and He's not going to allow harm into lives. He's not. God's government gives people safety and the freedom to walk the streets and the freedom to speak and the freedom to do. That's why when our founding fathers copied the Bible because they knew those rights given in the Bible are the most important rights.
So good. So good.
Anything else we got today?
I think that's it for today.
Yeah. So there's some thoughts about Mississippi and what's going on in Mississippi. Take your thoughts, but take them as prayer points, and start looking into this as prayer points, and see what you and your church or your intercessory group, what y'all can do. Get out there and just start changing the state in the right direction that God wants it.
Yes.
So everybody be blessed, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.